Welcome to Crash Course Home Blurbs. There's going to be a couple or a handful of videos that you will watch over and over again. The buyer's consultation video is one of them. The invite to the buyer's consult video is another one. In fact, I had an agent that actually downloaded the podcast version or the audible version of the Home Blurbs class, which is this actual class. They just listened to it in their car over and over again to kind of help them familiarize themselves with it. So at this point in time, I'm going to teach you Home Blurbs, which is actually how to work with buyers while showing homes. You may or may not be actively showing a client. That doesn't mean we don't want to start practicing our Home Blurbs. It does mean that when you start working with clients, I want you to revisit this class over and over again to kind of concentrate them in. So why are Home Blurbs even necessary? You've probably kind of scanned through your script book a little bit to see some of the paragraphs that are written in them. What happens when you begin working with a client, especially one who's stated that they don't really want to be pushed around? Looking at their disc profile, maybe there'll be a little bit more of, well, it doesn't really matter what their disc profile is, but let's just say a little bit more of the high S, a little bit more stable and steady. You're going to be in a house and it's going to be the absolute right fit for the client. The problem is they don't see that yet. You did your job right. You did the buyer's consultation. You showed them how aggressive the market is, how many days on market homes are really going for, and how competitive they need their offer to be. But at some point, something kind of got lost in translation. They're in a house. The house is the right fit. They don't see it yet. You can do one of two things. They can say, let's go see more homes, and you can be like, okay. And you can wait until they've seen a dozen homes, been beaten out on offers a dozen times, been frustrated and dejected before they actually begin to know the truth from themselves and become a little bit more aggressive. Or you can use the right scripts, the right tools, delivered at the right time to help them understand right then and there why that very first house they ever saw should be the one they put the offer in on. So that's kind of where we're coming from with the Home Blurbs. It's how to get a client to see that the house is the right fit when they just don't see it yet. So depending on where you're at in your real estate career, if you just joined us as a brand new agent, or if you've been working in real estate for a dozen years and then just decided to join our team, I think you can both kind of pick up something from what we're going to share. There's three basic scenarios we're going to run through. I'm going to give you the scripts, the tools that I use for each one of them. But we have to start. Every time we do this, we got to just kind of come from the awareness that we are good people. We want the best for our clients. We want them to have a house that they're just going to be in love with. At the same time, they don't know that this is the right house for them. So it always starts this way. There's a couple of segue questions again. So this is what you say when the house is the right fit, the client doesn't see it yet. You ask leading questions that elicit affirmative responses. And these are the kind of leading questions you ask. Where do you see your furniture going? How do you feel about the price point? What are your thoughts on the neighborhood? Is this home close enough to work for you? Remember, these are all questions that you really should have asked them during the buyer's consultation. We never want to ask a question that we don't want to know the answer to. If their maximum price point is $300 and you show them a house that's $325, you don't want to say, how do you feel about the price? You know that it's at the top of their limit. You know they're not going to be comfortable with it. Don't ask it. You see, we ask the questions that elicit the positive response that we want. Let me just tell you how this could go wrong. So you're in a house with a client. Remember, it's the perfect fit for them. They just don't see it yet because it's the very first home. It has 4 of their top 5 must-haves. I can begin to barter and argue with my client. I can say, well, this house is $25,000 beneath your maximum budget. It's totally within your range. You said you wanted to be 10 minutes from work. We're only 7 minutes from work. Why won't you write up this house? Now, you're thinking, I have more tact than that. I have a little bit more a way with words. That's not how it would sound coming out of my mouth. Well, let me tell you, that's exactly how your client hears it. If you even negotiate or argue with them, even in the least, they're going to pick up on it. That's why we ask questions that elicit a positive response. You know, I've even had a client, I was asking a client, so how do you feel with the price point? And she said, well, Andy, you know my maximum budget's $250. This house is only $200. And it segued perfectly to where I was going. That just kind of dates you a little bit. That was back when I was working with a high-end client. This was a couple of years ago, and ooh, a $200,000 buyer was high-end. And so we ask them questions. Oftentimes, the longer a client is in the house, the more they'll fall in love with it. So let's just think for a minute. You have a high D personality, and they're married to an S or a C. So the high D, they walk in right away. They know they like the house. They're like, man, this is a great house. What other homes do you have for us to see? Well, their partner, a high S, they need to be in a house for a long period of time. The more time they spend there, the more comfortable they're going to be. So I don't want to just go look at the other house right away. I want to ask questions that elicit a positive response that get them to stay in the house longer. And the first question I ask is, well, where would you see your furniture going? Heidi doesn't care. They're already kind of mentally checked out, moving on. They know they like the house. But I want to give the S time to feel the space. So I'd say, where do you see your furniture going? I'd say, well, I'd see the couch going here or the Christmas tree going there. You know, you're going to find out, it's probably going to happen to you a dozen times in your first year in real estate. It's in the middle of July and you're going to ask a client what's important about a house, and they're going to tell you they want it to be able to fit their Christmas tree. There's some Christmas tree people out there who year-round are thinking about the Christmas tree. Well, that's a perfect one. When I'm in a living room and it has a cathedral ceiling and I just had a Christmas tree type client, I always say, well, where do you see your Christmas tree going? And they're going to say, oh, it's going to go perfect right over there by the cathedral ceiling. I could very easily have argued with the client. I could have said, this house has a cathedral ceiling. It's perfect for your Christmas tree. But I totally just ripped away their opportunity to have self-discovery. Have you ever been in marital counseling or premarital counseling or life coaching? You see, oftentimes the counselor knows exactly what your issue is well, long before you do. But you will not receive that unless you get to go through the process of self-discovery. How many times have you had someone tell you, this is what you're doing wrong? And you're like, yeah, whatever. But then when you go through the process of self-discovery to understand where you need some correction or adjustment, it's life-changing. The same thing for with the house. That's why we ask leading questions that elicit the positive response that we want. They say they're in love with a mid-century modern house, and you're just in the cutest little boutique home that has open windows and it's exactly mid-cinched out. You can begin to argue with them, this is the mid-century house, let's go right up the mid-century house. Or you can say, how does this aesthetic fit with what you're looking for in a home? Oh, we love it. I'm going example after example because it's that important that we actually practice it. It's not so important that you hear what I'm saying and think, yeah, that's some good stuff Andy's saying. It's that you begin to actually practice it. You see, when we begin to ask questions that elicit the positive response that we want, more often than not, we won't even need to go use the home blurbs because the clients will also agree that this is the right house. And truthfully, if you've done the buyer's consultation correctly and you explain that you will be writing up houses, possibly even writing up a house the first time you go out, that you're not committed to the property whatsoever, in fact you have 10 days to walk away for any reason, then when you begin to ask them the questions that fit, they should be the ones saying, let's go write this one up, or can we go write this one up? But let's say for instance they don't. Let's say you're working with a client, you've showed them half a dozen homes, and you happen to be in that perfect home. The house is the perfect fit, they just don't see it. Now, I'm going to share 3 specific scripts with you. They're actually written out. You also have some notes, and so if I say like a one-liner that you really like, I want you to jot down that one-liner. Most of the scripts and the lines that I have weren't mine to begin with. I plagiarized them or R&D'd them from somewhere else, which really stands for rip off and duplicate. So feel free to start writing down some of the one-liners that you hear that I say. But we're going to go over 3 specific ones. And the first one I would say, depending on my relationship with the client, how long I've been working with them, if the house is the right fit and they just don't see it, but yet they don't think they've seen enough homes yet. This has actually happened to me numerous times. Because I do my job and because I find homes that just fit the top 5 criteria, sometimes the very first house we see for a client that's been waiting a year before they start their home search is the one that's the perfect fit. And they don't feel that they can put an offer on it because they haven't seen enough homes. It doesn't matter that I know this is the only home on the market that fits their criteria. In fact, if they don't put an offer in on it, they're going to have to spend 20 to 30 grand more to fight with other competing offers if they give this house a day or 2 later. So it's imperative that they put an offer in, but they don't yet see it. Well, this is the line I want you to use, and we're going to read the house is the right fit for the client, but they just don't see it yet. Other than the fact that you don't feel you've seen enough homes yet, do you have any other objection to going back to write this offer up? I understand that the home buying process is probably the biggest financial investment you've made in your life so far, and you want to be confident about the decisions you make. However, the great part about my job is that I get the privilege of doing this every day. It's my job to help make the right decision. From what I learned in the buyer's consult, from what I hear you saying about this house, it sounds like this one's a good fit. Tell you what, let's go back to the office and write up the offer so we can tie up this house. Let's go spend the next 10 days trying to see if we can find something better. Remember, the only cost so far is the paper we're going to write the offer on. We can walk away after the deal at any time for the next 10 days. Sounds like a big mouthful, doesn't it? It's not, especially when you get into the mindset of understanding what it is you're going for. What we're trying to do is help reassure a client. Let them know that they're putting a ring on the finger. They're not getting married to it. Like, we can walk away. And so let me just give you a situation of how this would play out in real life. I'd say with the client, great, so how do you feel about the floors? They'd say, Andy, it's perfect. What about the price point? It's well beneath our budget. How do you feel about the neighborhood? Oh my gosh, it's the safest neighborhood we've ever been in. Outstanding, let's go back to the office and put an offer in. What do you think? Ooh, Andy, I don't know, we're just not ready. This house is perfect, ideal. I want to see what else is on the market. I just haven't seen enough homes yet. Okay, sure. If I'm hearing you correctly, you just haven't seen enough homes yet, correct? Mm-hmm, that's totally true. You love the house, you just want to see more homes. Yeah, that's really it. Well, outstanding, great. See, I know that this is the largest purchase you've ever made. I just need you to know I get the pleasure, the joy, and the honor of helping clients like yourself do this every day. And I'm going to guarantee we're going to get the right home for you. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go back to my office and put an offer on this house. And then we're going to spend the next 10 days seeing if we can find a better one. If we do, great. And if we don't, I think you'll be thrilled that we wrote this one up at the same time. How does that sound? Another way that I play this out, say, great, let's go back to the office and put an offer in. Andy, thank you, we're just not ready yet. We just haven't seen enough homes yet. Sure. Other than the fact that you don't think you've seen enough homes yet, is there any other reason why we want to go back to the office to put an offer on this one? They're going to say, no, the house is beautiful, the price is right, yada, 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 yada. We just had friends that went out and saw 28 homes with their agent, and we thought we should see just as many. Your friend saw 28 homes with their previous agent? Sounds like they had a horrible agent. You see, remember in the buyer's consultation we did, I promised you I was only going to show you homes that had at least 4 of the 5 top must-haves for you? And this one hits all of those criteria. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the office and write an offer on this one. We're just going to take our ticket so we can take it off the market so we get to decide if we want to buy it. Then we're going to spend the next 10 days trying to find something better. Heck, really the only thing we're wasting is paper, and shoot, we're going to write it up online, so we're not even wasting that. How's that sound? This is how you want to get your clients in the habit of writing up offers. Writing up offers. Even if it's a house they're not completely in love with, it would be great for you to go through the experience of writing up an offer with them. If anything, it's going to kind of cement your guys' relationship. When you go through the process and understand it, because if it's a house they kind of love but aren't just mad about, well, the best thing that could possibly happen is that they get beat out and someone else gets the offer. That's going to kind of light a fire under them. And so we want them to write up homes. We also want to show them homes. A question I once had is someone said, well, Andy, what if you write up an offer and it gets accepted? Are you really going to spend the next 10 days looking at other homes to the client? And my thought was instantly, this agent doesn't get it. They don't get to add more value than they receive in compensation. If they did, they wouldn't see going to show more homes as a chore. They would see it as an obligation to make sure that client feels very validated by their decision. So yeah, of course you do. You know, if it's a house that they start to fall in love with, you can ask, should we even go look at more homes, or do we know this one's the right one? And depending on their DISC profile, if they're a high D or even an I, they might be like, no, we don't want to waste our time. If they're a C, they'll probably want to see some more properties and some more price per square foot and some more searches. If they're an S, they're definitely going to want to go see more homes. But we don't want to be the kind of agents that say, let's go write this offer and then spend the next 10 days see if we can find something better, only to have them call us the next day saying, when are we going to go out and look at homes? And you be a jerk of an agent and be like, oh, well, if this one doesn't work out, we'll go look at more. No, add more value than you receive in compensation. So yeah, go tour more. Just be thrilled knowing that you found the right one. If anything, it's going to help validate it. Does that make sense? Great. Let's move on to the second situation and scenario. This one comes up almost as frequently as haven't seen enough homes yet. In fact, I feel like this is one that I had to kind of use more and tailor more to meet your needs. But it's going to work out perfectly, so I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. It's the unrealistic expectations. Sometimes you're going to do a buyer's consultation with a client and they're just not going to get it. You're going to show them that they're completely unrealistic in what their wants are, but you don't want to just fire the client, so you show them a few homes, so hoping that they would kind of get it. Once you know it, they don't get it. They start to blame you because you're not showing them the right house. So this is the unrealistic expectation script. You all look a little bit deflated. What's going on? Yeah, I understand. I fully understand your concerns. If I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you're frustrated at not being able to find the home you want at the price you're comfortable with, correct? You know, home buying's a puzzle piece. There's only 3 components to any house: price, location, and condition. If we know that we have to have a house in this condition and with this price, then it's only going to be found in this location. Which piece of the puzzle are you willing to compromise on? Now, this was one, the first time this happened to me, I wasn't ready for it. I thought I was completely realistic with some clients and what their expectations were. We went out and began to tour homes. I think we toured 2 to 3 times. And then we go into a house and the wife just unleashes a fury on me. You're not showing us the houses that are in our price range. She just blah, 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 just went off on me. And I was like, are you kidding me? You guys are completely unrealistic in expectations and you're blaming me for not showing you more homes? Something's wrong here. Well, things didn't work out very well with that client. They fired me, and probably because I lipped off to them. I wasn't eating crab louie on my boat at the time, so I probably should have pandered to them a little bit more, but they fired me. And I went back thinking, I didn't do anything wrong. They were completely unrealistic, and then it hit me. Yeah, I did. See, they fired me because I didn't do my job. My job was to help them understand what they could afford. My job was to tell them the truth that they maybe didn't want to hear. Remember from the buyer's consult, if I'm ever telling you something that you don't want to necessarily hear, you got to know it's because I'm telling you the truth. Well, that's where this came from. And so I kind of wrote a script and tweaked it and fixed it, and this is now the finished product. So I'll see a client, you can kind of pick it up in their eyes and their body language. Maybe you've toured with them a couple times and the excitement's starting to wane. Maybe they're getting shorter and their fuse with you is getting less and less, or maybe they're starting to get frustrated and bickering with each other. Either way, I always stop and say, hey, what's going on, guys? You guys look a little bit deflated. What's going on? And then I want to let them unpack it. Sure. Yeah, I can totally understand that. That makes great sense. Well, guys, you remember for the buyer's consultation, we sat down, we came up with the top 5. You know, there's only really 3 puzzle pieces that go to buying a home. It's price, it's condition, and it's location. So from what I remember in the buyer's consultation, if you know you have to be in the university place school district, because being in a great school district is of utmost importance, and you know your max budget is $400,000 because you're just not comfortable going any higher, are you willing to compromise a little bit on the condition of the home? Are you willing to give up maybe the marble countertops for maybe Formica? Are you willing maybe to sacrifice that 4-bedroom for possibly a 3-bedroom house? Right now, you guys, go in the other room and talk about it. What are you willing to compromise on? You got to put them on the spot. So what they're going to say in that point, when you say home buying's a puzzle piece, there's only 3 pieces to it. It's price, condition, location. So which one are you willing to be flexible on? Well, sometimes they'll actually say, you know what? It's price. We need to be flexible on price. So you're willing to go up another $25,000? Yes. Outstanding. Let's go back and start this home search all over. Sometimes they're going to come back and say it's location. I'm willing to be half an hour from work. Outstanding. We're going to expand our search and find you exactly what you're looking for. And sometimes you're going to come back and they're going to say it's the condition of the house, that they're willing to change on the 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, whatever it is. Outstanding. Either way, you want them to feel like it's a fresh search all over. Oh, that's great. It's a whole new search. Because what you don't want them to do is be flighty and go choose a new agent to not do that. You don't want to lay all the groundwork, show them 20 homes, help them get to the realistic expectations, only for them to fire you because you're not the freshest kid on the block anymore. So great, I can't wait. It's a whole new search. You're brand new clients. I want to introduce myself to you. I'm Andy, I'm your agent. We're going to find your house this time. And then treat it as a whole new search. So this is what I've had also happen before. This is mostly happens with your S's, even your C's. If it's a high D or high I and they don't like you, they're just going to tell you right there on the spot. But your S's or C's will say, great, sounds like you guys are a little bit deflated. What's going on? And they're thinking of putting the home search on pause for 3 to 4 to 5, 6, 7 months. Because it's just stopped, they don't want to let me down or don't want to let each other down. So no, you guys are looking deflated. What's going on? Do you remember back when we did the buyer's consultation, we came up with the top 5? And out of that top 5, I shared with you that home buying is really a puzzle piece. There's only 3 pieces. Price, condition, location. You guys are as experts on the market as I am at this point. So that's one you should actually write down right now. You guys are as experts on the university place $400,000 3-bed, 2-bath market as I am right now. So whatever their specific criteria is, if you've shown 7, 8, or 9 homes, you guys are as an expert on Ramblers in Lakewood priced around $250 as I am right now, if you've seen a dozen of them. Well, what do you think is going to change? Do you think you need to be flexible on price, condition, location? And they're going to respond, okay, we're going to go home and think about it for a week. We'll get back to you. I'd say, great, I really want you to think about it, but take 2 minutes right now. Just take 2 minutes right now. Go in the kitchen and come up with a decision for me. Because I want to see if there's another home that we can go look at this afternoon that fit your new criteria. Well, Andy, we're going to go home and think about it. Yeah, go home and think about it. But just right now, go back in the corner and take 2 minutes. If it had to be one, what would it be? Make them make a decision right now. Because waiting on that decision for 2 weeks isn't going to change anything. Does that make sense? The last script we're going to practice today is the fear of being ripped off. And this one comes into play mostly if you didn't do your job and they make you kind of feel like you're that sleazy salesman. This is the biggest fear is. Remember, a high D personality, what's their biggest fear? Fear of being ripped off. Remember a high C, they want to make sure they're making the decision are always pencils. I's, sometimes they can get their excitement and exuberance, get caught up and then all of a sudden be like, wait a minute, what did I just do? And S's, they're marvelous human beings. You're going to love working with them. But here is the fear of being ripped off. Sure, I fully understand your concerns. If I'm hearing you correctly, you have a concern about overpaying. Well, you know there's only 3 types of homes. There's your first home, your next home, and your last home. I'm going to make sure we buy at the right price and in solid condition so that when the time comes to buy your last home, you'll have the most amount of money to buy it with. Now, if you look at this script and you break it down, it makes no sense. It's nonsensical. The point is, neither is there real fear of being ripped off. So you kind of want to add a little humor to it. And so this is the way I do it. You're in the house with the client. Let's say it doesn't matter what their disc profile is, but you look at them and you say, gosh, guys, let's go back to the offer and put an offer in. And they're like, well, I don't know. And like, but realistically, remember from the buyer's consultation, this house has 0 days on market. What do you think your offer needs to be? They're gonna say, well, gosh, I know I need to offer over asking price. Yeah, let's go back and write it up. And they're just, you can just feel like their tension. What's going on, guys? You guys seem a little bit deflated. You guys seem a little bit out of whack. You guys seem a little bit hesitant. And they won't say I have a fear of being ripped off, but that's what you know it is. Whatever they say, we just want to make sure it's a sound value. We want to go home and sleep on it. We want to make sure it's a good investment. It's their fear of being ripped off. It's very valid. I want you to call it that. Say, I fully understand your concern. It sounds like you have a genuine fear of being ripped off or overpaying. Is that correct? And they're going to say, yeah, Andy, I do. Do you know that I can prove statistically that you're going to buy 3 homes and only 3 homes? You're going to say, what? Yeah, you're going to buy 3 homes. No, Andy, we're planning on living in this house forever. Nope, you're going to buy 3 homes. You're going to buy your first, you're going to buy your next, and you're going to buy your last. Listen, guys, I promise, I'm going to help you buy that first home in sound condition at great price. So when it comes time to enjoy that last home, you have enough equity in your house to get you there. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the office and we're going to do a market analysis together. If the numbers pencil, we're going to write it up. How's that sound? Great. It's just an easy way of taking the edge off. They're just kind of nervous. They don't even know why they're nervous. They want to go home and sleep on it, even though logically they know it's the right fit. And what I would tell some clients, listen, if you go home and sleep on it, you're never going to sleep in it. That's why we got to go back to the office right now and put an offer in. It sounds like you have a fear of being ripped off. No, Andy, you're a good guy. We know you wouldn't rip us off. Like, no, let's not talk about it. I'm just a stranger you just met. It sounds like you have a genuine fear of being ripped off. Is that correct? Well, yeah, kinda. You know you're going to buy 3 homes in your life and only 3 homes. You're going to buy your first, your next, and your last. Guys, I want to make sure we buy the first house in sound condition and at the right value. So when it comes time to enjoy that last home, you have enough equity to get you there. How's that sound? So let's go back to the office. We're going to go back right now. And we're going to do a market analysis together. And if you and I decide the price is right, we're going to submit an offer. How's that sound? This is all you need to help coax a nervous Nelly of a buyer into the promised land. These 3 scripts, you begin to deliver them based on a disc profile and you'll win every time. It is truly, I had an agent ask me, so about how many homes do you averagely show a client before writing up? I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 2. And they were trying to brag about their number that they only showed clients like 6 homes before writing them up. I'm like, kudos. You know, our team average is 1 to 2 times out we write up an offer. But that's not the point. The point isn't to see how quickly you can wham, bam, get the client gone. The point is to help the client find the house that fits their needs the soonest and the fastest. It just so happens that when you get good at your scripts and good at analyzing and reading inventory, your showing times go down. So it's not a race to see how quickly you got a client tied up with the property. It's just how acutely are we delivering on what we said we were going to do, which is add value and save them time. Okay, the last part that we're going to cover for home blurbs is objection handling. You're going to see all those home blurbs, there's kind of a gap. We actually, before we deliver the script, we ask a great question. And so that's objection handling. The first thing I need you to know about objection handling, listen, this is my definition of objections. Objections, they're not a rejection of you. They're not a personal attack. They're really just an uninformed and sometimes impolite question or statement by an individual who doesn't know what they're talking about at the moment. So let me say that again. An objection, it's not a rejection of you. It's not a personal attack. It's an impolite or rude statement or question by an uninformed individual. You can't take an objection personally. In fact, the number one reason why I couldn't stand calling expireds when I first started calling expireds is because people told me no all the time. They were just rejecting me. And remember, a high D personality, they have a fear of rejection. I had to come to grips with it wasn't me they were rejecting. It was the script. It was the dialogue. It was the conversation. So when I could get past that, when I could push through that, I began to get okay with objections. I just know now that I get asked for the close 4 to 6 times. If you're with me or you're shadowing me, sometimes you can feel it's awkward, but I just keep asking for the close. If I believe in the product and the time and the house is the right fit for the client, I just keep going for it. They're not rejecting me. They don't have the capacity to reject me. They're rejecting the process. So an objection, it's not a rejection of you. It's not a personal attack. It's just an impolite or rude comment or statement or question from an individual who just doesn't know any better. So this is how you handle objections. 1, you listen emphatically. You ever been in a conversation with your spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend or significant other, and they're just sharing, well, I can't stand it when you leave your socks out. And the moment they quit speaking, you respond with, I don't leave my socks out, you leave. But it's just back and forth, back and forth. No one's listening to the other. There's no feel, felt, found. There's no connection. It's just argument after argument. Well, the worst thing that can happen when you use a home blurb and you actually know what to say is that you don't take the time to listen to the client. You see, they're sharing with you a hurt, a concern, or a feeling. And in your mind, they're like, oh, Andy, we just have a fear of being ripped off. And you're like, oh, I know this one. No, we want to take the time to listen emphatically. In fact, oftentimes, I'll relate it to a personal story myself. So if a client says, I say, hey, what's going on? You guys just look a little bit nervous or deflated. What's going on? And they say, well, Andy, we just have a fear of being ripped off. Sure. Tell me about why. Well, the last time we were on a car lot, the salesman was pushy and he just sold us a car and we regretted it and resented it the whole time. Oy vey, I can totally relate. I've had the same thing happen to me. I can see why it's so important to you that you don't have a pushy salesperson. I fully understand your concerns. Other than having a very valid fear of being ripped off, is there any other reason why we wouldn't go back to the office and write up this offer? No, Andy, we just have a fear of being ripped off. Great. I too remember the last time it was a Comcast salesperson. They called me up and I don't know why I answered the phone, but the next thing I know I'm signing up for a cable package I didn't even want to use. It was completely ridiculous. I still kind of regret it. I should cancel it tonight, huh? Anyways, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the office and submit an offer. Then we're going to do a CMA together. If the numbers pencil and everything's add up, we're going to submit it. How does that sound? So that's the whole process. So step 1 is listen emphatically. Even ask them questions about it. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. In fact, you can even tie it into a personal situation where you had something similar happen to you. This is the, I feel your pain, I felt your pain, now I found the solution for it. So listen emphatically. Second is isolate the objection. I can't stress this enough. That's what I say. Other than the fact that you have a fear of being ripped off, is there any other reason why we wouldn't go write up this offer? Because again, you don't want to get in an argument back and forth. So a client says, I have a fear of being ripped off. And you say, great, let's, you're only going to buy 3 homes, your first, next, and last. Let's go make sure the numbers pencil. Let's go back and write it up. And then they say, well, I also haven't seen enough homes yet. Well, great. We're going to go write this one up and spend the next 10 days trying to find another one. Let's go back and write it up. And then they also say, well, and we also, you're not showing us the homes we want. You're like, ugh, you just can't use up your whole arsenal in one. So you isolate the objection. Make sure there's no other objections. If there are multiple objections as to why they don't want to write it up, it's probably not the house for them, and you shouldn't even be using any of your objections. So let me give you an example of how this would play out. A client's gonna say, Andy, we just don't want to write the house because we haven't seen enough homes yet. You're gonna say, great, other than the fact that you haven't seen enough homes yet, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to write up this house? And then if they go on to give you a list of other reasons, great, don't go show them the house. But if they don't go write up the house, but if they say, no, that's the absolute only reason why we're not gonna go write up this house is we just haven't seen enough homes yet. Well, then you know, as soon as you handle that objection, you're going right back to the office. So other than the fact that we haven't seen enough homes yet, is there any other reason why we wouldn't write it up? No. Outstanding. Then you repeat back their objection with your call to action. So tell you what, I know that you feel you haven't seen enough homes yet, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the office and submit an offer. Remember, we have 10 days to walk away for any other reason. And then we're going to go see each and every home that's out there to validate your concerns. At the end of that 10 days, you're either going to be thrilled we tied this one up, or we're going to find something better. How does that sound? So before you use the home blurbs, so each one of these home blurbs has a question that leads to isolating the objection. So in the haven't seen enough homes yet, if you look at it, other than the fact that you don't feel you've seen enough homes yet, do you have any other objection to going back and writing up the offer on this house? And then it goes ... and then I understand. Remember, it's feel, felt, found. Look at the next one. You all look just a little bit deflated. What's going on? I fully understand your concerns. Feel, felt, found, and then isolate the objection. If I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you're frustrated not being able to find the home you want at a price you're comfortable with, correct? And they're going to say, yes, you are correct, or no, you're not correct, you're totally off the mark, either way. And then the last one. I fully understand your concerns. If I'm hearing you correctly, you have a concern about overpaying. Each one of these, we listen emphatically. We isolate the objection. Then we repeat back their objection with a call to action. You begin to do this, you're going to win, not just in real estate, but at home. All right, guys, so for the remainder of the class, what we're going to do is we're going to take the home blurb that we think we know the best. If you don't feel like you know the home blurb the best, go back to the invite to the buyer's consult script and role play, just kind of executing that. But we really want to begin to mirror and match your postures. If you're the role play partner, not the one actually delivering the script, give them something goofy to work with. I mean, honestly, the whole goal is to be able to recite the script while your mind's thinking about something else. It's one thing to say the home blurb script when all you're focusing on is the words of it. But when you have to kind of mirror and match the gestures, or match the precision of the speaking, that's when you really begin to nail home some of these scripts and these lines. Okay, we'll see you next class.